Yeah, nice background, Raj, for this event.
Matthias, is it so also same as us, rainy? Or
Yeah, it's pretty cool here already, you know, since before Christmas. I mean, we had one typhoon after the other. So the Philippines has been very rainy, cloudy, and cool. So it's been very comfortable here for a long, long time.
yeah, especially maybe out in the outskirts of Metro Manila, because Manila is horrible all the time because of the I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there for quite some time, so the traffic and the pollution, that is
Yes.
what makes the air also not so good, and it's hot.
Yes. Yes. Mm. So if any of you want to watch us as well or share it on Facebook Live, you can go to the uHoo Facebook page and share it there. We are live on Facebook as well. Maybe some of your friends might be interested in this topic, or people from the interior design community. Feel free to share it with them.
Not sure what is this appearing on the screen. It's something to do with it looks like it's something to do with the zoom control rather than something else.
Mm-hmm. Can you put it on presentation view and see whether it disappears?
No, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
When I put it, it's hovering somewhere there. Now
I'll
it's
just
on the
ignore it.
bottom.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Is it move this window away from something? I'm not sure what that is. Okay, hang on one sec. I got that. Wait. As long as I don't have to undo that. Okay.
And I hear my voice in one of your sounds. Maybe that is from the Facebook.
Yeah.
James, are you checking on the Facebook? Because I know from the Facebook it has a slight delay. So maybe it's I will
maybe we
try
can
and
just
share it as well.
yeah, maybe we can just mute that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I muted my laptop so I don't get extra sound coming in from there, and then the phone
Yeah.
picks it up as well. So I have to do that.
Maybe those of you that have joined already, you can share where you're coming from. I'm wondering whether we have mainly Southeast Asia today, Philippines, Singapore, anybody from Europe that's joined us. What countries do we have present today? Looking forward to, oh, wow. Philadelphia, PA, the Netherlands. Excellent. Very good. Truly international. Philippines. Maria is from the Philippines. That's great. Definitely an international presence today. Now, I'd like to welcome you all to our uHoo webinar, Designing for Health. This is our subject today, understanding how design addresses indoor environmental quality. My name is Matthias Gelber. I've had the pleasure of chairing the uHoo webinars last year, and now this is our first one for this year. So it's really great to have a good audience with us, and at the same time, we are live on Facebook. So if anyone is watching us on Facebook, greetings to you as well. And I'm really looking forward to this subject because last year we have realized how critical indoor air and environmental quality is for the health of people, for the prevention of virus spreading, and for productivity of employees. Health has really been moving into the center of what we are doing. So we are looking forward to discuss this with you today. I will start off with doing a poll here today, where we want to check with you what you think at this point in time are your responses to this question. How are you keeping your indoor air clean and healthy? This is a multiple choice question. You can answer it with clicking different answers. So it's not just one answer that you can respond to. So please vote and give us your response, what you think are the main issues here. How are you keeping your indoor air clean and healthy? What are you doing at the moment? We have so far only 25% of our participants that have actually clicked it. So I'll give you a little bit more time so that we can ramp up this aspect, get a couple of more people answer their question. At least I would love to see 50% of you. So keep going, keep clicking, so we can ramp it up a little bit. What have we got leading at the moment? I think increased air circulation, bringing in the fresh air. That is the #1 point at the moment. We're coming close to 50%. So please keep participating. We've got a couple of new people sharing. Just participate in our poll, please, as much as possible. Okay, let me, yeah, we've got 50% now. So let me end this first poll question and share with you the results. Now, #1 has become keeping spaces well ventilated. Obviously very similar to, I think, what is #2, increasing air circulation and fresh air exchange. Then we've got several aspects that all have the same kind of rating: using air filters and purifiers, that's 38%, using indoor air quality monitoring, then keeping HVAC system clean and running well, 38% as well, and avoiding products with high VOC. So really most of what people have done is ventilation and air exchange, which obviously we can do manually or we can do automatically, depending really on the setup. At home, most of us will do it manually. In an office environment, we'll do it automated quite often. So this is really just to put things into context. We have two amazing panelists, real experts on the subject, and I will introduce our first speaker, Rajesh R. Shah. He is the MD and the design principal at Shah Associate Pte Limited. He has a long, comprehensive experience in this industry, and I can promise you he is known for interesting points of views and presentations. So Raj, we are looking forward to your input. The floor is yours.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. I'm looking forward to sharing once it's my turn to do so.
That is already the case. It's your turn to share.
Okay, then let's get into it. Okay, I'll move away from the the normal the first slide, and I'll go into my hang on one sec. Let me see whether always have technical issues. So never mind. Let me see if I can get this to.
I'm sure
Hang
you
on,
will
guys.
master
Okay,
it.
got it. Yes.
Good.
Okay. All right. So today's topic, and first of all, we'd like to thank uHoo for inviting us to speak on this topic. It's the latest hot topic. I would have to say it's not a new topic. We have always kind of known about it, but with the recent COVID situation that all of us are facing, no single country has been spared. Um, and we now come to this seminar trying to share and think about what it is and what it means for us going forward, right? So designing for health, understanding how interior design addresses indoor air quality. Okay, this is my synopsis. As modern humans, we spend a lot of time indoors. And by indoors, we mean that areas that protect us from the climate and external elements. And, since the caveman days, we've been doing that. But in modern sense, we are living in environments that are mostly man-made and controlled. So far so good. It's a great leap forward from cavemen hunting, gathering to modern buildings with modern facilities that really doesn't matter whether there's a thunderstorm outside, we are still protected and we can carry on working. So, well, yes and no, right? So we have come a long way. And along with it, we have introduced materials into our indoors that may seem harmless, but at the end of the day, prolonged exposure will result in you getting unhealthy or affecting your health, right? And by health, we also mean your well-being. If you start getting a lot of headaches, you start getting, allergies, all of these may be related to a particular material or the quality of air within your interior spaces. So our prolonged confinement indoors subjects us to things like smells. So smells, I would put it as perceivable. And vapors are the non-perceivable. We can't really smell them. And so this is where architects and interior designers come in with their extensive knowledge. We are still learning and in trying to address the indoor air quality question. Okay, just a simple, just to start it off, definitions. I won't go into detail. What is an indoor? What is air? What is quality? What is design? I'll just move on. Okay, this is all information that you can easily find, if you Google, right? But these are what we deal with, day in, day out. Common indoor air pollutants are asbestos, which is already barred and forbidden in most interior spaces. There are a lot of old buildings that still have that, and it has to be really handled with extreme care, and only experts can touch it or remove it. Biological pollutants, carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, and this is one of the key contributors to deteriorating indoor air quality, because formaldehyde are in a lot of materials that you wouldn't expect it to be in. All right, and it's also been in the industry wide forbidden now or not allowed, especially for products that are rated green. But they are still present in certain products if you are unaware. Lead, of course, that's another element that we used to use a lot in metals, but not now. Nitrogen dioxide, pesticides, radon, that's again with all the equipment that we are starting to use, and we don't realize that all of this is there. Now, if you look at the picture on the right, the air quality of the work, I mean, it's a little bit small, but it's not meant for us to read everything. But in an indoor environment, this is all these things affect us from gray to blue to green to yellow, all affect us in different ways. But they're all a contributing factor to the quality of air in any indoor environment, right? And I think the poll said it, very clearly. Oh, allow natural air in, fresh air, better exchange. Some of these things we can control, but if you're in a commercial building, unless your building management or the building is designed in the way to kind of help trap these things ahead of time, there's not much else you can do. But good news is we will be introducing to you certain new technology that will help you at least uh, get ahead of the curve, for whatever you cannot control. Okay, so two images. One is all the things that poor indoor air quality, how it affects your health. I just mentioned like headache. Of course, you see, you have fatigue, you have eye nose irritation. All these are symptoms, could be of symptoms of a flu or a fever, but more than likely, if you are staying too long in indoor situation, you will experience these, and these could be a direct or indirect cause and effect of materials used indoors or the air quality indoors. So I'm asking this question: is this our future? COVID gave us a real scare, and are we all going to end up wearing masks? Even when we meet the family at home. I hope not. And I'm sure we won't. We only have to take baby steps, and improve things that we can. Okay, so when we talk about indoor air quality and exposure to something, there are things that we take into consideration, like the amount of time, the duration, how much time do we spend indoors or exposed to a certain element or material. Exposure is the amount of time times the intensity of the vapors, how close you are, how much of a defective item it is, if it already contains formaldehyde and all this. Believe me, you won't feel it, but you will experience it. Proximity, how close you are to this. Most of us sit on chairs, furniture, and if all of these are made with materials, timber, plywood, laminates, fabrics that contain the glues used in those materials or those products, if you are in close contact with them, it's also a factor. Intervention, if we use mechanical or natural means to lessen or completely eradicate the offending vapors, can we do that? So that's a thinking process. Common terms of references: duration, exposure, proximity, intervention. What can we do? Okay, so common sources of air or gases, if you want to put it. Natural. Every interior has a good amount of fresh air exchange via doors, windows. If you have the possibility of having that type of indoor-outdoor space, if you are in a tall commercial building, you tend not to have so much of this. Yes, you have some indoor landscape, but not that much. It won't contribute that much. Materials. Every material used, like I said, in the fitting out of interior space, including plants, give off a certain type of gas and vapor. Some good, some bad. Imported. We often forget this, but the perfume we wear, the leather case that you bring in, the exotic foods and snacks that you bring into the office and you share them at the pantry, all of these, while not directly harmful, it may be contributing to the quality of the air within a space. And of course, mechanical. The largest contributor to indoor air quality or indoor air is your ACMV system or HVAC system of a building. And that's one of the parts that you as a end user or we as designers, sometimes we can deal with it to a certain extent, but if the building is already designed in a particular way, we have to counter it rather than flow with it. So That's, some of it is within our control, some of it is not within our control. And going forward, I suppose we have to work with the architects and the developers and instill in them the idea that that is the major contributor to indoor air quality, and something has to be done at that point, so that when it finally gets to us, it's clean air, and then we can make it even cleaner. Okay, so again, what are the common solutions? If it is natural, take a walk outdoors, go for short periods of time, and add an exercise routine. For materials, for a start, ensure that the materials are either they are specified or used that are certified green. Singapore has the green mark, the green label. Other countries may have other green certifications that we insist on when we specify a carpet or a wallpaper. Of course, imported. What people bring into the interior, it cannot be controlled. But if you contain it within a pantry area and not spread it all in the open office area, then there is some level of control that we can apply, right? Mechanical, again, working with the consultants that will design the system so that they address the bad air quality upfront, rather than we having to do a lot at the tail end. Okay, so this is one of the case studies that I'm going to show you. In light of, let me see whether I can get my mouse to work here. Yeah, okay, you can see that. So in light of the current situation, this is one of my clients, and it is a typical layout of a commercial office building. The gray areas are the buildings, these are the storage areas that I've created. The white areas are the building core. The green area is where the public can access. And of course, the semi-public areas where customers come in are the orange zone. And then, of course, the purple zone is the pantry, and red zones, offices, and the blue zone is the office, open plan office. Now, you can see in this plan that it's an existing office, and some places, okay, you have red, but you have some oranges or yellows towards the end over here, interspersed with the blue, right? You have one little corner space over here. You have a little bit of this. Going forward, what we would probably have to do is that when we redesign spaces and hopefully buildings, we would have to zone all these spaces, common spaces, in the middle, so they act as a barrier between the spaces. Each of these zones, like you can see with the red line over here, each of this quarter zone will have its own meeting areas, semi-public and semi-private areas, mingling spaces, I would call it. Hang on one sec. Let me see where's my mouse again. Yeah, okay. And then, of course, you have these areas which we keep to the front, so that any food that you bring in, everything is contained in there. And hang on one sec. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Just a little bit of a. Okay, there we go again. Let me see if I can run through. Yeah, okay. So what I'm saying is that it is not as easy as just trying to redesign a current space. When you redesign a current space, this is what I would probably have to recommend to the client and make changes. What I'm looking at is when we go even from the design of the building, eventually we will have to look at buildings themselves being built in zones, elevators going to only certain sections, not mixing with other people on the other quadrants of the building. A lot of things will have to be thought out. Safe entry, temperature taking, all these type of things will have to be architecturally designed so that spaces are more comfortable for us. Coming back to indoor air quality, you can see from this, and this is a typical building. You have one big AHU room, and then you have huge ducts that go all the way across the entire floor, and it goes into zones, but it is not sufficient to kind of prevent mixing of air. So that systems also will eventually have to be redesigned to make it a little bit more zonal from the very start. Yes, you would have to sacrifice a little bit more space to give it to the building facilities and less rentable space. but health comes before everything else. So if we as end users insist, going forward, our indoor air spaces will be better for us. I'm going to hand it over to back to Matthias, who will introduce the second speaker, and we will share a little bit more. And I'll leave some of this, what I want to say, for the discussion portion of it.
Great,
Thank you,
thanks,
guys.
Raj. Just to ask you a question on this page, if you can stick on that. Now, how would the scenario be here with fresh air supply? Could people open the windows for those different zones? Will they be able to get fresh air coming in those 4 different quadrants? Or is it something that would have to be redesigned?
It would have to be, the long and short answer, it would have to be redesigned, because these buildings are not designed to have windows open. The only little windows that you have are top clear story windows, little panels that in case of an emergency and the aircon fails, you open up so that there's a little bit of air circulation that comes in. I can tell you, without air conditioning, when we were fitting out this space, my guys had to go down for a break every hour. They were profusely sweating. They were, their oxygen levels were dropping. I had to insist to the building management, say, hey, give me the Allen key. I'm going to open up every one of these windows, at least while I'm doing work, because the aircon was not allowed to be on. As you know, it's natural. When we're doing renovation work, you don't want the aircon to be on to take in all the dust and dirt. But these buildings should be designed better. That's all.
Yeah. So basically, we need to go back to the, design, architectural, engineering, and interior working together to get this right for new build and to get this right for refurbishment, because it sounds like we've got 2 problems here. One is the building is so hot, so there's no insulation, no passive design. The heat gain from outside is massive, and we don't have fresh air being properly supplied to each of those areas, so it will be tricky to actually, or costly to redesign that at a later stage. But I guess later on we'll come back to that discussion with our audience. I just thought it was good while we have this visual representation here to ask those questions.
Sure. We can come back to this slide later. And I just saw some questions as well asking about, what do we do in this type of case and all that type of thing. We'll come back to that later.
All right, great. Excellent.
Okay, I'll stop sharing
without
so that
further
I can
ado, thanks so much, Raj. We have James Paul Pilande. He is the editor-in-chief of the officedesigner.com, and he is based in Singapore as well. Originally comes from the Philippines, and he's got a lot of interesting things to share. So, James, looking forward to your presentation. Over to you.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. Okay. Besides the office designer, I think a lot of people in our audience might know me. I'm also the principal designer of ARID Builders. So we've been doing office fit outs in Singapore for the past 10 years. And I've been practicing workplace interior design in Singapore for the past 20 over years. So tonight I'll be talking about indoor air quality in relation to interior design of workplaces. Okay, so a few months ago, the WHO has declared the coronavirus as being airborne for a few hours, and it can linger in the air longer than expected. That means infected persons, even just by speaking, can aerosolize the air with the coronavirus projectiles in the air. So this has increased the chances of acquiring COVID-19 just through recirculating air, okay? So personally, you can see that this is quite better when it comes to indoor air quality in the workplace. It is well spaced and stuff like that. There's greenery. So indoor air quality is very important or extremely important to the workplace for some reasons. Like for now, it controls the spread of the coronavirus causing COVID-19. And then of course, it minimizes absenteeism due to the disease spreading across employees and space occupants. This one is a forgotten issue even before. But if you notice, when you go to the office, why did you discourage people or sick people from coming to the office? Is because not only, you know, they will get other people sick as well. Okay, so this is one important factor of getting your indoor air quality right. And of course, it avoids the loss of productivity and profits due to the airborne related sickness and discomfort. A lot of people, it's very subjective. Some people, you can feel that you're having a headache. You don't know for whatever reason. Or sometimes you feel nauseous, you know, for no reason at all. So it may be the indoor air quality. Okay. And of course, you have to maintain a healthy employee and eliminate risk for visitors going to your office. So those are the things that I think is very, very important for the workplace. I mean, to maintain a very good indoor air quality in the workplace. Okay, so I'm looking at this visual. Okay, so will our office of the future look like this? Okay, because personally, I don't see the future that will be working from home. It's just not suitable. So one way or the other, we have to go back to the office. Therefore, now we are aware of potential threats of airborne pathogens. We have to be conscious about the air we breathe. Okay. In the past, immediately after the pandemic, when people started going back to the office, this is what most designers are proposing: plexiglass that act as barriers to block direct contact of the aerosolized projectiles. Well, for me, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous idea. It's because it's ineffective and it's dangerous. So I think there are usual ways of maintaining a good indoor air quality through the HVAC system. Like adding more frequent fresh air exchange rates into the indoor space to minimize the spread of airborne pathogens. So, I mean, moving forward, organizations like, in Singapore, we have the SIDS, or the Society of Interior Designers Singapore. There's also some architectural organizations like UAP, United Architects of the Philippines, Singapore. They've been touching this topic quite frequently already, because we have to bear in mind, we have to prepare for the, post-COVID, the new normal. Okay. So their policies and, they're enacting new policies after the pandemic. But for now, I think we can do it ourselves first. Even though there's no policies yet, even though there's nothing much in place, I think the best way to do it is we do it ourselves first. So in the design community, we've been discussing about this, a key few elements for a virus-free workplace. Okay. So basically, one is green interior design. Just to show you an example of a green interior design. That means let's try to put a lot more elements of plants. Let's put a lot more greenery. Okay. And based on my research or our research, the most important findings about green working environment include general air purification, because by right, plants really purify the air. It's really an automatic or a natural way of purifying air. General air purification of volatile pollutants and dust. Okay, the reduction of headache up to 20%, the reduction of eye irritation up to 52%, the reduction of energy consumption for ventilation by up to 15%, and an increase in work productivity for 20%. So this is the effect. Just putting green interior design, something like what you're seeing now, will definitely improve indoor air quality. Okay, it's a natural way. Okay, so the next one is we have to incorporate passive or natural lighting and cooling. Okay, because light also affects the growth of molds and fungi constantly on dark spaces. So it will be susceptible to growth of microorganisms, right? So this is what I meant by passive lighting and cooling. If you notice, we have very bright, big windows, and then our dividers are not really walls, but more on glass. Okay, so you can let light in. And then if you notice, you can open it wide. So that means, for this type of spaces, the spaces are open. So there will be more air circulation rather than you just compartmentalize everything with rooms and one door. So for me, for the designers also that I have been working with, you know, we are also really looking into a design that is more open, that has more chances of air circulating in a much larger space. Okay, so I mean, I'm giving you more time to see how offices moving forward can look like, right? So this is how we view passive cooling. Okay, and then the next one is we need to space out furniture. If you notice based on Raj layout, that is BC. We call it BC because it means before COVID. It's not before Christ, it's before COVID. So it's BC. Okay, that is 2019 BC. Okay, you see how they try to squeeze in a lot of person in a particular space. Do you think after COVID you can do that? Of course not. You know, that's really you're encouraging what do you call this, a super spreader office. We call it a super spreader office. So basically what we need to do like this, okay, you can see there's quite a number of chairs, but try to eliminate the chairs. There's wide open spaces, there's big open spaces. You can space out people more, and then it's double loaded. That means you can have, your air can circulate, right? I mean, it encouraging social distancing. And then I think, I mean, for Singapore, we might not really be able to do this a lot, but I know that we have viewers from Europe and from America. I think we can also encourage opening up spaces outdoors or office outdoors. You see, like what you can see here. Because for me, I mean, the best way to fight it is through outdoors. Create more outdoor air. So, I encourage, if there is a space or there's an opportunity to do outdoors like verandas or like open spaces in your building, try to get that space. It's because you can encourage people to work outdoors. And then for that reason, you can already prevent the spread of the virus, right? So this is quite an example that I can show you. Okay. So in my presentation, I wanted to go more in depth into the visuals because picture speaks a thousand words. From my perspective, I'm a very visual person. That's why I wanted to show you more examples of how it can look like, or what is the best way to tackle this issues. I mean, for indoor air quality, in the workplace, right? So, I mean, currently these are just a few, because by right, each individual topic is a subject by itself. So I don't really wanted to elaborate much about each and every individual topic. I just wanted to cite images and show major examples so you can relate to what I'm talking about. So after these three, which are basic for designers, in green interior, passive cooling, space out furniture, let's talk about adapting the new trends and technologies to improve the indoor air quality. Because currently now, there's quite a number of technologies coming out, which is focused more into indoor air quality. Okay. So look at this space. The way I view this space is that's why I captured this image, is because it's already a mixture of what I was telling you, or I showed you just now. That means wide open spaces, greenery, and the passive lighting, passive what do you call this? passive cooling and lighting. Okay, and if you notice, I took this lift reception area, and it looks color blue. Why is it blue? It's because if you notice, there are this you know current developments in 222 nanometer ultraviolet light that will not harm your skin or your eyes. It's still under development, but there's already a promise of far UV. We call it far UV in the market that is already starting to circulate, but definitely not as big as this, because far UV by itself at this point in time, it's still very expensive. But sooner or later, I think it will already start. You know, the cost will start will diminish, is because definitely people will start focusing more into this new technology. Okay. So the next one is, I want to talk about this. This is a Singapore product. You know, we call it Gush. Okay. So Gush is a paint, and mind you, it's an air purifying paint and a formaldehyde free paint finish. Okay. So what does this paint do is, you know, based on my research, I'm not really sure whether this is the technology that they use. They use TiO2. They use titanium dioxide, which is currently commonly being used for air purification. Okay, but I think they're not. They have their own. They have a special. They have a special coating. They have a special formula. Okay, so this paint also absorbs moisture faster to control mold growth and other pathogens that are sticking into the walls. Okay, so this is a very new technology you can adapt immediately. It's just I mean in Singapore it's not that expensive. It's almost maybe the way I see it, maybe 10, 15, or 20% more expensive than ICI or Nippon, or I'm not really sure whether there is already available in the Philippines. But I'm talking to Gush, because I know the CEO of Gush. I'm trying to bring it over to the Philippines also. You see, so I'm not really sure how productive it can be, because of course I also wanted to help the Philippines to have all of these technologies available. Okay. So the next one is automated natural ventilation systems using actuators, which are connected to the timers or even to the uHoo device. Okay. So how you wanted to connect it to the uHoo device? The uHoo device reads carbon dioxide. So what you can do is you can set your uHoo device together with all of this type of actuators. You know, they also work with they also work on the cloud or whatever. You know, you can connect it over with the uHoo through the app, and then it can automatically open or trigger an event to open whenever, for example, your PM 2.5 reaches 1,500 or 2,000. Sorry, PM 2.5, no, carbon dioxide. Okay, whenever your carbon dioxide reaches this level, then it will automatically open. So these are technologies that are readily available already. I mean, before this one is not so. They're not really looking at this as much as how they're looking at it now. Is because before, like what I say, their indoor air quality is not really being focused. Although, like what I always tell people about indoor air quality, you're so concerned about the food you eat, but you're not concerned about the air you breathe. It both goes into your internal organs, and yet you're not really looking at it the same way as you look at food. So now I think it's high time to pay attention also into the air that we breathe. Okay, so like going back to the subject, this is one thing that we designers can look at into our future projects. Although I know it will cost a bit more energies, because we might need to automatically turn off the aircon and then open this, just probably maybe for a few minutes, and then once it goes off, and then your aircon will turn on again. You can do that. There's a lot of ways to play with the uHoo app, so you can do all of this this time-based trigger events. Okay. So, and the next one is, of course, the UV-GI air disinfection device. Of course, which I am involved in. It's the Luminaire in Luminaire, Singapore. So, what is the UV-GI air disinfection device? So, this is the next generation air purifiers equipped with UV-GI technology to not only filter the virus, the bacteria, and the fungi, but to also kill them, disabling their DNA and their RNA. Okay, so what is the difference between air purifier and the luminaire? Again, air purifier filters. Okay, luminaire filters and disables and kills the DNA and the RNA of the virus. How do they do it? Okay, UVGI is a product of strong UV dose, in UV intensity and time. So UV, the what do you call this? The air passes through an enclosed chamber, and then it's there for like maybe 1 second. So the exposure time while the virus is in the chamber will kill the virus, will disable the DNA and the RNA of the virus. Okay. If you notice, why is the form factor of the luminaire longish? It's very long. It's 1 meter. Why is it 1 meter? 1.2 meters, sorry. Why is it 1.2 meter? It's because we need the length of exposure time to disable the virus. Okay? It takes 0.6 seconds to kill a coronavirus, according to CDC. Okay? So these are new technologies that you can easily adapt or put into your house or put into your office, because it has a pendant light integration and it has a desktop integration. And there's a lot more other models from the Luminaire. But this talk is really about how the new technologies. So I don't want it to dwell too much on this. Let's go to the next one, which is the simplified enterprise cloud solutions, of course, using the Luminaire, the uHoo. Okay, so I mean, in the past, you have to go through the BMS. Okay? The BMS, they have all of these very, very expensive softwares and stuff like that, just to monitor the air, just to trigger events and stuff like that. It will cost you a bomb. It will cost you it will be very expensive. But imagine if you just use a uHoo. A uHoo can trigger like what I showed you just now. It can trigger window actuators to open when it triggers when you set a certain mark that it needs to open, like for the CO2, when it reach 2000, it will open, and then it will close after 5 to 10 minutes and stuff. And then of course using the luminaire also, right? As you can see, based on the visuals, okay, it's an enterprise cloud solution. So that means you can use different type of it can be hooked into smart devices. Currently now, how I use this quite frequently. Okay, so this uHoo is connected to all the devices, and then if the virus index, because the U has a virus index monitor, so if the virus index reaches 4 or 5, then it can trigger all the events, all the luminaires will turn on, and then eventually once it goes back to 3 or to 2, the virus index goes to 3 or to 2, then it can switch off. Alternatively, you can make it time-based. And the uHoo is, it's not really that expensive. It's very, very affordable. Okay, that's why I'm into this talk, is because it's not only that, what do you call this? I wanted to tell you about the uHoo. It's because I really believe in the product. You see, I've been using this product since 2 to 3 months ago, and I really believe the product is because we did some tests, like in this office, I posted it in my LinkedIn account. You can see it also in our Facebook account. I installed it. I installed it. What do you call this? In December, I installed the luminaire in December 8th. Okay. Then what we did is we checked on the graphs and stuff like that. You can see there's a 50% improvement in indoor air quality. You see, so this is how I see it. This is how I can see the improvement, because there's also a dashboard where you can check all of these parameters. Okay, so going back, I mean, I think all of these technologies together, these are the newer technologies in Singapore that is available for us to use. So we can consider this as designers. And then lastly, I mean, all of us, like Gosh, like uHoo, like Luminaire, we also have we formed this Singapore Clean Indoor Air Alliance together with this Enterprise Singapore and EDB, okay, Economic Development Board, to come up with, to see whether we can try to to promote indoor air quality in commercial spaces. Okay, so I think that's all for me. I
Great.
mean, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I usually post regularly there articles related to office and indoor air quality, or you can also join our website, theofficedesigner.com. Okay,
All
so
right.
I'm done. So I'll pass it back to Matthias.
Thanks, James, for your killer presentation.
No problem.
Killer presentation with killing of virus as one of the components of it. We
Yes.
have an immediate question for you that was based on your suggestion about the open spaces. By the way, you can submit your question in the chat box, even better in the Q&A part down below that you see at the bottom of your screen. So the question here is about open spaces for light and air circulation, which was your recommendation. Isn't it dangerous as the virus will spread faster throughout the interior space if it's all open? And it's a little bit in contrast with Raj's recommendation to kind of compartmentalize this layout that he showed us earlier. So what is the best way, the open spaces or the compartments? Tough question, huh?
For me, it's BC. Like what I say, the Raj design was BC. That one was before COVID. Even for us, I mean, I did a lot of office in Singapore. We because of the cost of real estate here and the cost per square feet of office, office spaces, we definitely really need to squeeze people, you know, in the office. But I think moving forward after this, I'm sure there will be guidelines already. I think our anthropometric data will change. Our spacing, our space bubble will change. I'm not really sure about that. But I think in order for us to encourage more social distancing and more spaces, it's because I also did study the projectiles of the I mean, whenever you speak, like for example, if I'm speaking now, there's a certain length. That's why even in the States, right, it's not really advisable 6 feet or whatever. I think they're asking for more space. Raj?
Yeah, I think Matthias, it doesn't contradict to a certain extent, because even in my rezone spaces, where you looked at the blue zones, there was still that big space of open office, right? Which is what that James was showing us, right? So the open office could be designed that way, with incorporation of plants, a little bit of greenery, a little bit more spaced out rather than squeezing people in. My attempt was also to kind of show that the way we start designing buildings and interiors will have to change if we want to address not only COVID and maybe future infections or viruses, but also looking at how we interact with each other, and not only worry about dollars and cents as a consideration for space planning and design, which a lot of times we are subject to. We are always told maximize, maximize, maximize. Do this. Doesn't matter. I want it here. I want it there. The end user is the king. We draft for them. In a way, right? So sometimes when you question them, how do you operate? What do you do? I suggest we do it this way. No, no, no. I want it the other way. But this scenario now is going to change, because they're all going to have to understand that it's going to be into the rules and requirements to even if you have a 200-person, on a floor, 50 of them, they will have to be zoned separately. They will have to come and leave separately, so that if, let's say, one group of 50 are infected, they can trace, and or somebody in that 50 is infected, they only have to worry about those 50 to be tracing and taking care and doing all the follow-up, and not the entire 200.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I was saying that, in terms of the building architecture itself, we have common lifts now. In future, it may be, this quadrant will have its own lift, and it stops only on your floor, which is what they do nowadays. And it probably doesn't allow other people to share the lift. So it brings you from 14th floor or 13th floor straight down to the ground floor. You exit, and then it goes back up to service somebody on the 11th floor. It could probably be that as well, so that to minimize, right? No point doing the segregation and then people mingle in the lift. Those type of considerations will be there.
Yeah, I think the open spaces with the light coming in, and obviously you have to pay attention that you don't get too much heat coming in either, especially if you're facing the afternoon or morning sun. So there are those considerations as well. But I think that works if you have good air circulation. Then it really works. But if you don't have good air circulation, then you have a problem. And the zoning to keep people apart so you can manage groups in case there is an infection, I think makes a lot of sense as well. There were two more questions, Raj, based on your case study earlier. One of them was, how many monitors like uHoo should you be positioning in there? And the other question was, in Singapore, because a lot of offices have no windows to open, what do you do in such a case? Where do you get your fresh air from?
Okay, so the first question, I think we'll answer second. James can jump in, because how many monitors, he's familiar with the uHoo system, so that's one of the ways to monitor. Yeah,
because we have a couple of other questions that were submitted in advance that I want to bring in as well.
No worries, short and sweet. Yes, you have to have the zonings. I don't know how many units you will need. We will, to monitor. But coming back to the question of opening and having fresh air, I will say that architectural design will have to change, which will allow a lunchtime, let's say a downtime for the air conditioning to shut down and open up the windows automatically to allow fresh air to come in when there is minimum people. And then it shuts back again, and then you continue working in the conditioned space. So something will have to happen where you bring in a lot more fresh air than the little bit of fresh air they put in to the air conditioning system. It's all a matter of cost, because when you bring in a lot of fresh air, there's more humidity to reduce, and the more cooling you have to do, so it increases the cost of operating the air conditioning system. So some things will have to change.
When we talk about the quantity, I think I have to address the quantity of the uHoo. Okay, so I tried it in a space about 300, 400 square feet. Okay, so I think the way we do it is we have to get, like, for example, it's 4,000 square feet. Okay, your space is 4,000 square feet, or a normal floor plate of an office in Singapore is about 8,000 square feet. Okay, so if you calculate it at 400 square feet, that means you will have at least 20, if it's an open space, to make it effective. So it depends upon, it should have a zonal protection factor. That means, of course, the further, it will not be really that effective. But if you ask me personally, since I already tried it, I would rather say probably about 400 square feet to 500 square feet would be a safe zone to cover. Other than that, you have to interpolate it. So if you have a 1,000, 2,000 square feet, you need 4. So this is my experience. I'm talking with experience on this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Actually,
next questions.
Yeah. We have. Let's go to the two questions that were asked in the Q&A. We have Dustin, the founder of uHoo, co-founder of uHoo, who said he would like to answer this question live. And the question is, have you been able to influence the spend of to the productivity increase due to healthier and effective employees from a landlord's perspective and from an occupier perspective? Are they willing to spend more due to those benefits? Dustin, can you answer that? Oh no, he clicked it by mistake. All right, no worries. You guys can answer it. Actually, there was another question linked to that that was submitted in advance. One person that's working, I think in Singapore, on setting up a medical co-working space wanted to know how can they do it green and clean without really running over budget big time. I mean, James, you mentioned already, these new solutions are not as expensive as people think. And with a simple device, you can control a lot of things that previously would have cost you a bomb. So that the Internet of Things future is here already, correct?
Yeah. So I mean, let's answer. Let me answer the first question first. Okay, regarding the ROI. If you invest on this, can you convince the owners or the clients or the property managers about the ROI? The business case of this. Basically, what I can say is it's easier to convince now is because there are already data. What I mean by data is because people are starting to look more into this. So for me, even for me, I can already see there's a lot of data, white paper that you can see from the internet regarding indoor air quality. You can extract all of those data, compile it, and then send it over to the project managers or to the client. This is the study. Okay, so it's easier. I mean, definitely, if they want to have proper calculation based on their own use, of course they have to pay you consultancy already because it's already custom made. But if they only wanted like a proper justification, there's already a lot of data in the internet that they can use. That
Actually, from my own experience, I think that sometimes certain upgrades are difficult to justify only on efficiency gains.
Yes.
That's usually what people calculate. Oh, you upgrade your HVAC system and you put in a better MERV filter. We save a bit of money due to the energy efficiency. The MERV filter will need an extra booster fan, but we don't think about including the productivity gains into the return we get. And once we include the health and wellness related ones, it's much easier to justify upgrades and changes to the buildings that we will have to do anyway now because of a new normal. So I think that's an important aspect. And that maybe helps as well. Our friend here who is working with the medical co-working spaces, health is their core business. If they can deliver, and I recently looked at the medical insurance report of a company that I was working with. That's extremely interesting reading, guys. If you're working with a client, ask them for the medical report, and usually it's not confidential because they just give you so many people were in hospital or sick leave because of this and that. If you can focus on those that could be related to bad indoor air quality and change it, even the insurance company might be able to lower the premiums in the future. Those are all benefits. Yeah.
So Matthias, to address some of these questions, all I can say is that if you go at it alone, you're not going to change the world. So enough of us have to, from the end user standpoint, from a worker standpoint, from the manager standpoint, from the boss's standpoint, from the the occupier going to the landlord and telling them that, hey, this is what I have promised to deliver to my workers, my staff, better health, better air quality, and I demand that your building needs to have all of this before I will rent it or before I lease it, right? Not just dollars per square foot, for empty space that we don't know what the quality of things are. People may go in and say, hey, I'm going to test the indoor air quality right now, and then to see whether after I've done the renovation, I've added or I've taken away, or is it high to begin with? I've gone into, sorry, James, just let me finish this. I've gone into a space where my friend asked me to go look at it, and he said, look, after the renovation, I want to do an indoor air quality test. I said, no, I want you to do it before because I want to establish a baseline, and then I'll do it after to see whether I've added anything. If the baseline is already high, And then if I finish the renovation and everything is high, I started from a very high base. If your building is platinum green or whatever it is, it should be very low in terms of a baseline. And I will make sure that I don't add on to it, right? So again, this is what we have to think about.
Guys, can we extend 5-10 minutes? Are you okay with it? I'm okay with it.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Those,
Yeah.
those
Yeah,
of
I'm
our
fine.
audience,
Our participants are not going down; it's still going up.
Yes,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
They're
We are
bearing.
excited.
They're bearing with us. I think they're
It's an
interested.
interesting topic. It's an interesting
Yeah.
topic.
And if anyone has to go home, or the husband or wife is calling them for dinner, feel free. We won't
I'm
hold that
fine.
against you, but we will just keep continuing another 5 to 10 minutes because we just have such an interesting and lively discussion. I
Yes.
need to as well ask the question that Risa here wrote. She has two in terms of, but we'll come back to this discussion as well because I think
Mm.
James had some comments on that. Maybe just James, quickly your comment
Oh, I
on
think it's
that
okay
point.
because now, based on my experience, people already talk indoor air quality. They're already considering this. It's automatic already. It's because no one wants to have COVID, and all of us are being cautious. So now it's just a bit colder. I mean, what I mean by colder is not so hot because Singapore is quite safe. We have very, very small infection rates. But outside of Singapore, I think it's still a hot topic. They really need to consider IAQ. Like what I say, COVID is airborne. It's not in the surface. That's why the washing hands, they don't talk to it frequently already. It's more into wearing masks and social distancing. Yep, that's it.
Yep. Good.
Okay.
So we have the question from Risa here. The
Mhm.
first one is, in terms of facade, full curtain wall has been the
Mm.
trend. Should we
Mhm.
go back to putting back windows to new buildings? Maybe that was related to James' comment earlier for
Mm.
the natural light coming in. And actually, James, I was very interested as well, the working outdoors. Maybe later on, you guys can both comment. Is it realistic for Southeast Asia that we could
Yeah.
create
Mm.
working outdoors? But let's answer this one first.
Okay.
Should we
I'll take.
go?
Yeah, I can take a stab at it.
Raj.
Okay. Um, Commercial buildings tend to go with curtain wall systems because it's faster to build than your traditional cast in place or precast elements with windows to you put in. They also uh, glamorize this fact that it's open view. You get this beautiful view of floor to ceiling glass panels, huge panels and all that type of thing, and they glamorize this. And the problem is that even if you have e-glass, all right, solar insulated glass, all the latest technology, our body's biggest organ is our skin, and we can feel light even through the glass. So the heat may not be there, but our body is sensing that there is a heat gain. We will feel hot if we stand next to a glass, even though it's protecting and the temperature differential is quite good. We will feel it. This modern idea of facade, fully glass, curtain glass, will have to change. All we need is certain windows, and these windows will need to, like what James said, work with the system, actuated, they open when necessary, like I was suggesting. At lunchtime, all these windows open up, and then they close. The other thing that we are missing in a lot of cases is that I've seen buildings where they suddenly put up some sunshades. Okay, first curtain glass, curtain wall facade, and then they put up all these sunshades, and the sunshades don't follow the sun. It's only to make the building beautiful architecturally, to sell to the developer, to say, hey, I'm going to have a few fins over here and a few fins over there, so it's going to look different. It's not going to look all glass, and that has to change. We need to be going back to basics in terms of design as well.
I think it's quite simple. For me, it can stay. The solution I need as an architect, air wells. We need to provide a lot more air wells. So
Yeah,
air wells that
good solution.
it's in the part of the core of the building. So what you have to do, of course, the wind is facing the cladding, right? So create air wells at the core, pull it down, and then fresh air will be coming from the air wells. Full stop.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I just thought of this as well. James, on
Air
your
wells.
idea of air wells,
Mm.
if all the glass facade curtain wall could be interior facing within an air well, and the exterior had minimal windows, and it was a big black wall like the LaSalle College of the Arts, with minimal fenestrations, it will still work because then it will cut out all the heat, but it will allow a lot of light to come through the middle, and then you can have your curtain wall. Then you still have an interior facing office, right? You don't have to face out.
Yep.
Actually, the air well and light well idea, I remember one of the first green buildings I visited in Malaysia was in Sungai Petani.
Mm.
And this was next to the Cinta Sayang golf course there. And it was by a very visionary developer who wanted to have a building cool enough so you didn't need aircon. And it worked. And every 4 floors, they had like as well a gap where the air could come in sideways and then could be channeled through the whole building. There was light coming in from the inside. It was beautiful. The air circulation, even without any aircon on, you felt a natural, beautiful breeze. And they had done the calculation. I mean, isn't that beautiful both for a office scenario and for a residential scenario that, you know, that might actually do the trick of enabling us to work in such buildings, even without HVAC systems in a very open space kind of environment.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring this up. You know, the building that I was just showing you, right? I won't name
Yeah.
which building it is. It's a green mark platinum building.
Hmm.
And my question was that without artificial mechanical ventilation, can it cool itself?
Hmm.
All the green ticks that you get because you use this particular brand of air conditioning, or you do this, or you do this, or do this to score points on the green mark certification just to get platinum, is of no use if the building cannot cool itself and you have to rely on mechanical. So
Yep.
what you are saying is that it's really beautiful. We should start designing buildings that can naturally cool themselves with a little bit of assistance, if so be it, you know, on hot days or whatever.
I have
Yeah.
ideas, but that's for another person.
A
we,
coffee session, biryani session,
Yeah,
James.
yes,
yeah.
we have
Okay.
one question in the Q&A section that we haven't addressed yet
Uh-huh.
with regards to the cloud solutions and the BMS.
Hmm.
Regarding BMS, all equipment needs to have a common platform to communicate, say BACnet. How is that for cloud solutions?
For me, I'm not really sure about how to connect it directly to the BMS system because in my vision, I'm just looking at those who rent floors. I'm not really considering the whole building. Definitely, if you really need to do an IAQ monitor for the whole building, of course, you still really need to connect it to the BMS. But what I was referring to in my earlier presentation is, I mean, for example, your rent out office, 8,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet, on how you can utilize just using a simple app because of course the bigger there will be more budget, but for you to encourage people to at least be aware of the indoor air quality, try to bring the budget down, and you can do, and for me you can do a complete set. I don't know, I mean, if in my mind, based on my calculation for 8,000 square feet should be less than 20-30K, you know, including all the equipments that you will probably need already to enable the action. Because like I'm discussing about the uHoo. The uHoo is the warning. Okay. It tells you your air quality is bad. And then the other devices like the luminaire is the action. Okay, I will solve it. I will turn it on. Something like that. So I'm not really looking at a big scale, maybe just a floor, you know,
Yeah.
because maybe later on, although I know that you who has been been used in big buildings already in Europe, in the Netherlands. I saw a few of I saw from I think from YouTube or from some of their case studies that it has been used in Europe already. But I mean, I'm talking about my own personal experience,
Yeah.
and I think it
Yeah.
hasn't been used in Southeast Asia yet.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that question I would like to ask Lilette. to answer that as well directly to Risa, who asked it as a follow-up. I'm not an expert for that either. I just know, you have APIs that you can connect with, and you can have those triggers in uHoo. I just use it here at home. I have it outside at the moment since New Year, because I wanted to check, especially New Year's Eve, how bad was the PM 2.5, but there were hardly any fireworks, so PM 2.5 stayed very low. And I just get the data from the uHoo that the humidity is quite high, which is usually not so good for the virus index, because you want it to be between 40 to 60. But I'm just tracking the outside conditions at the moment. There was one interesting question that was submitted in advance, which is maybe a good final round for your comments to comment on, with regards to that was the question: how about this contrast of individual freedom versus collective optimization? Like, everybody can individually control his ID, his air quality, his needs, even from, reminds me of the comment you made, Raj, about you can't control what people bring into the building. Some organizations do it. They start controlling what people bring into the building. Like, one of my clients is a six-star hotel. They want zero waste. They are asking their employees, nobody is allowed to bring single-use plastic in anymore. So these kind of things might be specified, but maybe at the expense of individual freedom, but maybe we need it for the collective optimization. What is your view on how we can get the right balance in that context of interior design and air quality?
What?
James, you want to go first?
I mean, I'm not really sure about my answer if it's correct. Though. I mean, whether it's because I'm looking at it at a personal point of view. You see, so those are for me. If you wanted to have like a personal IAQ solution, then of course there are quite a number of wearables that you can use. But I'm not really sure. Can you re-elaborate again, Matthias?
Yeah, I think
The
the
freedoms,
person
right?
here is
Yeah.
is basically a little bit like what I have seen with lighting. Usually you have centralized lighting. Somebody says, "Oh, it's bright enough for me. The natural light coming in from the outside is okay already." Somebody else says, "No, it's not okay. It's too dark for me. Technically the lux or the lumen is not enough." But
Mm.
two other people say, no, it's too dark, and then the light switch goes on and every light goes on. Versus, okay, you give everybody a desk light and tell people, control it yourself. If you're not happy with the natural light coming in, just switch on your small desk light. At least we can leave the large full lighting for the whole room off, because that will hit our energy consumption. Something along those lines:
Yeah.
individual freedom, individual control versus collective optimization.
Okay. So Matthias, I think it's easy to address the light issue. Okay. In Singapore and Southeast Asia context, very much compared to Europe, I would say, and America, or the USA, our commercial buildings come in fitted with their ceiling and lighting fixtures and the sprinkler points and the ACMV and everything. All right, that already hinders designers from doing what they need to do. All right, client is not going to say, hey, throw away all those fixtures and then open up the ceiling and whatever not. Right, where in Europe they allow you and they don't provide you the ceiling. All right, and they say you do what you want. And so you can control lighting by the fact that what you exactly said, we can provide line type of lighting. Those lighting fixtures that kind of go in a zigzag, or individual long fixtures that are either interconnected or not. There used to be the craze many years ago, and that was an effective solution because that gives light in the corridors and where you need it. And then all your binder bins, when we went away from the cubicle to the open office, we lost our high panel screens. When we lost that, we lost our shelf and our binder bin They used to call it a binder bin, with a task light below,
Yeah.
to give you this additional light, right? So we've moved away from there, but of course there are other solutions. There's a standalone LED light that you can add on, and you don't have to, you provide that to every employee as part of his furniture allocation, and you can control. And what would also, it means that we need to not follow the switching pattern provided by the building, meaning to say there will be a little bit of rewiring needed up front for the lighting, but you could zone it in a way that if you switch on this one, every alternate light goes up. If you switch on that one, every other alternate light goes up. If you switch both on, the entire floor is lit.
Yeah.
Right? And they are doing it by zone. So that is okay. I come back to this lady who is asking, or this person who is asking about individual versus individually indoor air. You can't control the air that you breathe, except for the picture I showed. If you start wearing a gas mask, right? Or very early part of Corona, there were a lot of cartoons or images showing people wearing a bubble around their face, so they can control the type of air they're breathing. I don't think we want to go to that extent. So it would have to be a collective effort, so that if you walked into a space, you are comfortable and you are assured that the air quality is good. Individually, you can stop smoking. You can stop wearing very strong perfumes. You can stop bringing in very pungent type of savories into the office. So you can prevent that. That is controllable. But beyond that, what the building pumps in, I think most people do realize, and I think I just want to highlight this: every mall has a different scent, different smell, customized smell. So in Singapore, Vivo City would smell different from the Ion Orchard. That will smell different from Parkway Parade. They introduce these smells to either make you eat more or shop more, or recognize it as this particular place. And that's an added. We don't know what they're adding into the air, right? Besides the ACMV. So slowly.
Let me wrap up on the one that Matthias mentioned just now about. I think I grasped it already. So basically, the way I see it, data is very important. This is one of the aspects that I see on uHoo, big data, right? So in order for you to make logical decisions, you need to extract all of this data from people, users, right? So that it's the majority that want this rather than just individual.
Correct.
I mean, for now, basically, a lot of things will change because of COVID. But the way I see it, it should be for the collective good. We have to work on the collective good. We don't think about ourselves. We have to think of other people. Why we wear masks? For me personally, why I wear mask is just to protect myself and also to protect other people. I think this is the basic mindset that we have to put into.
Correct. And I don't mean to be a wet blanket, but if COVID stays around a little bit longer, there will be changes. If it disappears and we cure it, then we're going to forget about everything, go back to the old normal, and wait for another crisis to hit us, before we learn.
Yeah.
Yep.
That might be the climate crisis. And
it already might
be irreversible.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I think good point. The collective takes precedence over the individual control. And when we are looking at spaces, we are looking at the space as a whole, and the health and productivity and the needs of all the individuals together as the primary focus of what we want to optimize. So yeah, I think that is a good conclusion at the end. I think we had a great session today. Thanks for the great questions, great participation, excellent presentations from both Raj and James. Very good.
Thank you.
I think we had some good following on Facebook as well. So great to see you all here, even though we can't see you, but see you again, or hear you, or have your presence at our next uHoo event. There'll be a couple of regional launches for the uHoo new business product coming up, and it will be great to stay in touch. Thanks for joining. Still a lot of people on the call, even though we stretched it for another 15 minutes, but I think it was worth it. We had a great discussion. Thanks a lot to uHoo for setting this up. Thanks, Raj and James, for your great presentations and expert contributions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, uHoo.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matthias, for hosting us. Thank you, Lilette, for organizing everything. We'll see you again. Keep in
Yep.
touch.
Great.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good night and good morning. Bye.
Yes.